We are Duck Hunting Fanatics, knee deep in the duck blind. If it flies, it dies. Only Duck Hunting Fanatics know what it feels like to see a brightly colored drake mallard cup its wings and soar towards your decoys. It's what we do, and it's what we love. Duck Hunting Fanatics, with boots on the ground, eyes in the skies reports. And we get it from professional duck guides all across the country. We interview them for their top tips and tricks from their years of experience from the duck hunting blind. This is Duck Hunting Fanatics, and this is Eric Wilkes.
Greetings, friends. Eric Wilkes here with Duck Hunting Fanatics, and I have Nate from Double Action Reactive Targets on the line with me today. And Nate, again, want to welcome you to the Duck Hunting Fanatics podcast. Want to thank you for your time and just ask you a couple questions about how you got started, and then we're going to kind of branch into what Double Action Reactive Targets is and what it's all about. So just tell us a little bit about how you got the idea to start making targets, Nate.
Sure. Well, and thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about our products and talk about fun things. So I'm a big shooter, and we had at my local club a weekly pistol club. So we would get together and do action shoots or steel shoots, kind of training for competition, but fairly informal. And in the wintertime, we'd move indoors. So we were shooting simulated steel shoots with polymer targets indoors, which was awesome. I had never known that polymer targets existed, and this was probably 5 years ago. And after you'd shoot them up, we had 15 guys competing. It got to be hard to know if you actually hit the target. Certainly you couldn't tell where they hit. And because we were keeping score, even informally, it was kind of shady. The guy would hit a strap of the target or hit the target stand, and it would wiggle and they would count it as a hit. And so I just started thinking right there that there's got to be a better way to solve this problem to know that I hit the target, right? Because I love the idea of polymer targets. So I'm a mechanical engineer by training, and just started noodling over, while I was standing there in line waiting to shoot, and thought, man, there's heat that has to go into this target from the bullet. I wonder if I could do something with that. And filed it away in the memory banks, to be, recollected 2 years later. And, it was, like I said, a few years later, I had some spare time recently found because family issues with one of my children, medical issues. But once, we were out of that window, I had all kinds of free time. I thought, man, I should pursue this idea and see if I can make it work. And that's what it was. So I started gathering some materials, built a prototype, went to my top secret shooting range somewhere I can't mention, and tested it. And it worked. And I was like, holy crap, that was pretty wild. And that's where we got started. So after, a few prototypes and researching lots of materials, I think we had our first product sold within about 3 months of that first prototype.
Nice. That's awesome. And I do want to give you a shout out, because one of the things we do here at Duck Hunting Fanatics, and we try to introduce our fans, our followers, our listeners to some pretty cool products. And excuse me, like I said, when we met, your product is pretty cool. What in your eyes makes your targets different from any other targets that are out there on the market currently?
The obvious thing is the self-healing splatter target functionality. I'll call it that. Sounds fancy, but you get a splash of color right at the point of impact, like a splatter target, so you can see where you've hit. And after a few moments, that fades back to the original color. The hole closes instantly, so you can put 1,000 rounds through one of these targets, and when you shoot it, you still get that change of color right where it hits. So yeah, there's the video on the screen now. You can see it fading away. Now that was time lapsed. In real life, that was probably 2 minutes from point of impact, from the time of impact until it went back to red. So that's the obvious difference with against the existing targets on the market. And we're actually patented as of this month. The first patent was granted, which is exciting. The second thing is they're the most durable polymer targets on the market. I'm very confident about that. If your listeners have shot polymer targets, a lot of them tend to chunk up, right? So you put 15, 20 rounds in a small area, you start getting chunks coming off the back of the target. So when you hit that same spot again, it doesn't move because there's no target material behind there. Ours don't do that. One of the targets I take to shows, I think it was like 150 rounds of 9mm, probably in a 1-inch group. And if the target was still intact in that section. So just to demonstrate to people how durable they are. So you're going to get a tremendous amount of life out of these targets versus any other polymer target on the market. Plus they change color, which is pretty cool. It's kind of magical. And they're just a lot of fun. They're super safe. Yeah, we make the joke, or I have the claim on the website here, that it's the world's greatest target. And for all those reasons and more, I think it truly is.
Yeah, and I have to agree. I mean, that whole color change thing is really cool. And then the fact that it self heals, I definitely see how it could last a lot longer, like you said, for thousands of rounds. And then each time, because the color is actually changing back slightly, you can shoot a second round into it and you're going to know exactly where you hit. And I think in your case, that you said earlier, where when you're shooting with some buddies or you're in a competition, it makes it easier to actually score it. And then you've got a more realistic score versus if you're, shooting against those steel plates. And I'm sure you get asked this question a lot, and I know our listeners are going to ask. So I'm just going to ask you right up front, what calibers are the double action reactive targets rated for?
So the standard answer is anything as long as it's round or pointy. So no hollow points, no wad cutters, no flat tips, but really anything. What you're seeing there in the video was actually 45 ACP. So the size of the caliber, bigger is actually better. It heals up really nice. You can shoot them with rifle. It doesn't hurt the targets at all. In fact, it does less damage, unless you have less remaining, marks on the target when you shoot with a rifle. You just don't get quite the reaction. So they're better for lower velocity, bigger caliber versus something like a 223 that's super fast and small. That's going to zip right through and not give you much color change or movement. So if you don't have a choice, you can certainly shoot these. If you can't shoot steel and you don't want to shoot paper, these are a good alternative for rifle. But if you're shooting, 22s, any kind of pistol round, carbine, they work great, just like you see on the video right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, excuse me. And I know a lot of what you guys talk about here is shooting for fun, plinking and introducing new shooters to the sport. What would you maybe say to someone who's new to the sport, or how would you go about, maybe a bigger question is, how would you go about introducing new shooters to the sport, utilizing your product?
Yeah, I mean, the picture there on the website's my oldest son. And so from firsthand knowledge, these are great. So if you've had kids and gone shooting with kids, what I found out really quickly is after every single shot, they want to run down range and see what they hit, which obviously doesn't work on a public range. It's kind of sketchy, and you got to watch your kids, obviously, if you're shooting anyway. But what I found with the double action reactive targets, you get that motion when they hit. So you have instantaneous feedback that they did something. And because of the color change, I can actually, and they can see where they hit and work on precision at the same time to, learn how to shoot a little more accurately. And because it's polymer, there's no danger of ricochets. You can get super close to them to build their confidence. And I found that with, again, taking my son shooting, if you had to back up far enough, like 25 yards when he was first getting started, that was hard to hit. And so the fact that we can go in 5 yards away and have him gain confidence and see the reaction, he's not wanting to run down range. He's having a lot more fun. He stays engaged. So just using these targets in that manner, up close, for fun, low pressure with kids, works great.
And it's a fairly large target too. What are the different sizes that you have?
So right now, the biggest we offer is 6 inches. The other one's 4. The little one there is 4. And the 6-inch, we also have a knockdown variety, which I think was the first video, which you can also hang upside down and have it swing. Now, yeah, so 6 is the biggest. And the reason is when you get to much bigger, so an 8-inch target or a 10-inch target, it's actually so heavy, it doesn't move very much. And so I don't think that's a good fit for this technology. You see some of the things that, in retail, they have these big 10-inch self-healing targets. You shoot them, you don't even know you hit at all because they don't move, all the same story. So right now, 6 is the biggest that we have and probably the biggest will go.
That makes total sense. And I really like the three things that I pulled out of that as it comes to introducing new shooters, especially young kids. I think number one, most important thing we teach our kids as we are introducing them to shooting, or at least you should be teaching your kids as you're introducing them to shooting, is safety. Safety is very, very important. And, this is a very, very safe product. It's a very, very safe target. Like you said, you don't have to worry about ricochets. The instant feedback, which is going to equate to the movement, which gives the shooter, again, it's building that confidence. And then as they build confidence, obviously you have the color change. They can start to work on their precision and really dial in their ability as they grow. And I think for a young shooter, it's really important to instill, those three things. You've really wrapped it all into one, and you have it in one unique target. And it's also something that you can just continue to reuse over and over and over and over again. So it's really cool what you're doing, and we are excited about it. I hope our listeners are excited about it. How do people get in touch with you, Nate?
The best way is on our website, da-targets.com, or Double Action Targets. You can also hit us up on social media. So we got the Facebook page and YouTube. I will admit, I don't put a lot of money into Facebook anymore. If you can imagine, we're pretty heavily censored. Anything we do is squashed pretty rapidly. And so the page is up there. You can certainly reach us. We'll typically respond back within a few hours. If you have a question, you can shoot us an email on the contact page or reach out through Facebook. Happy to hear from the customers. And then the YouTube, same thing. The videos are there. We post videos occasionally, probably not as much as I should, but we have some fun with that. The DA team right there was a fun video that we put together, A-team spoof. You need audio, so I encourage the listeners to go check that out. It makes me giggle when I see it.
So I think the easiest way to get to these, you guys, for those of you that are listening, if you go to datargets.com, you can see the link up here. And then if you actually scroll to the bottom of the page, he's got his Facebook and his YouTube links here. Facebook, it's facebook.com/Double Action Targets. And then YouTube, it's pretty long. It's that long channel name. So again, just go out to datargets.com, click the link here. That'll shoot you over. If you do end up making a purchase, just let Dave know that Duck Hunting, you heard about him through Duck Hunting Fanatics. That way he just kind of knows that, our listeners are paying attention, and lets him know that we appreciate him and appreciate the products that he's putting out there. So Nate, once again, want to say thank you for your time. We appreciate having you on the show. And for those of you that are Duck Hunting Fanatics, we appreciate you listening. If it weren't for our fans and our followers, we wouldn't be able to continue doing these shows. And everyone have a great day. We'll talk to y'all soon. Thank you very much.
We are Duck Hunting Fanatics, knee deep in the duck blind. If it flies, it dies.